You ever look at your life and think, something has to change, but I don't even know where to start? Most people try to fix themselves with motivation, quick hacks, or feel-good routines. But deep down, you already know. The things that actually change you are rarely comfortable. That's why the Stoics were different. They didn't chase comfort. They built strength. They didn't escape their problems. They prepared for them. Marcus Aurelius didn't become unshakable by accident. He became unshakable because he treated self-care as a form of training, not a luxury. And if you're tired of feeling stuck, tired of carrying the same emotional weight, tired of living the same year over and over, this is your moment. Today, we're diving into 7 Stoic self-care habits that don't just help you feel better. They rebuild you. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. So take a breath. Because the version of you you've been waiting for, it starts right here. Part 1. Virtue. First, the foundation of a reinvented life. If you truly want to reinvent your life, you don't start with motivation. You don't start with routines. You don't start with productivity hacks. You start with virtue. Because everything else collapses without a moral spine to hold it up. The Stoics believed you cannot build a strong life on weak values, and that's where most people get stuck. They try to change their habits without changing the standards that shape those habits. They want confidence without integrity, success without discipline, peace without self-respect. That's why nothing sticks. That's why they keep falling back into the same patterns. Virtue, in Stoicism, means living by principles that don't bend when life gets hard. It's the quiet decision to do the right thing even when nobody is watching. It's the courage to look at your own flaws without flinching. It's the discipline to choose long-term strength over short-term comfort. And there are 4 virtues the Stoics considered the core of any transformed life. Wisdom, the ability to see clearly, not through emotion, ego, or wishful thinking, but through grounded judgment. Reinvention starts the moment you stop lying to yourself. Courage, the willingness to act. Not just in danger, but when facing uncomfortable truths, difficult conversations, or your own limiting patterns. Temperance, self-control. The strength to say enough, to choose moderation, to not let impulses run your life. Justice, living honorably. Treating people fairly, honoring your word, and acting like someone whose presence improves the room. When you build your life on these 4 virtues, everything else changes. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. Think about Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the most powerful empire on earth, sitting alone at night writing reminders to himself. Don't let anger lead you. Don't let pride blind you. Don't let fear soften you. Don't forget who you want to be. That wasn't journaling. That was self-care at the highest level. A man sharpening his character so the world couldn't break him, sirs, and you need the same foundation. Because without virtue, every habit you build becomes superficial. With virtue, every habit becomes unshakable. So here's how you practice virtue first in your daily life. 1. Ask the 4 questions before every decision. Is this wise? Is this courageous? Is this self-controlled? Is this honorable? If the answer is no, you already know what to do. 2. Write your non-negotiables. These are the 3 principles you refuse to break, even on your worst day. Maybe it's honesty, maybe consistency, maybe protecting your peace. Put them in writing, then live by them ruthlessly. 3. Do a nightly integrity check, not to judge yourself, but to refine yourself. Ask, where did I live my values today? Where did I slip? What will I correct tomorrow? Because reinvention doesn't happen the moment you change your life. It happens the moment you change your standards. You rise to the level of your virtues, and you fall to the level of your excuses. So let this be the beginning. Stand like someone who is becoming unshakable. Act like someone rebuilding their character brick by brick. And whisper this whenever you start drifting. Virtue first, outcomes later. Part 2. Master the 2 circles of control. If there is one habit that can instantly reduce your stress, clarify your mind, and give you back your power, it is this. Learn what's yours to carry and what's not. Most people never reinvent themselves because they spend their entire lives fighting battles they can't win, trying to control people, outcomes, timing, approval, luck, emotions of others, and every unpredictable twist of life. The Stoics had a word for this. Misery. Epictetus said it plainly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. And in those few words lies one of the greatest self-care tools ever created. Stoicism divides life into 2 circles. 1. What you can control. This circle is small, painfully small, but incredibly powerful. It includes your thoughts, your interpretations, your choices, your effort, your actions, your character. This is the circle where real transformation happens. This is where reinvention begins. But here's the truth most people don't want to face. Focusing on this circle is harder. It forces you to take responsibility. It demands you look inward instead of pointing outward. And that is why people avoid it. They'd rather complain about what others did than confront what they didn't do. They'd rather try to change someone else than discipline their own mind. But the moment you shift your energy inward, everything changes. You stop being a victim. You stop being reactive. You start being powerful. 2. What you cannot control. This is the circle that drains people's lives without them even realizing it. It includes what others think of you, what others do or don't do, the outcome of your efforts, the past, the weather, traffic, timing, external success, random events, the opinions, emotions, and inconsistency of others. Trying to control these things creates anxiety, frustration, resentment, and burnout. Letting them go creates peace. This is why Stoic self-care is not soft. It's not about feeling good. It's about getting real. 3. The practice. The 2-column reset. Here is the simplest, most effective way to apply this habit. Step 1. Draw 2 columns. Left. What I can control. Right. What I cannot control. Step 2. Fill them honestly. You will instantly feel 60% lighter because you stop fighting battles that aren't yours. Step 3. Circle. 1 thing on the left. Not 5, not 10, just 1. Then take action on it today. This resets your mind. It grounds your energy. It protects you from overthinking. And it shifts you from helplessness to agency. The real power. Emotional control. Most people think control is about changing circumstances. Stoics understood control is about changing interpretation. 2 people can live the same moment. One breaks, one grows. The difference isn't the event. It's the story they tell themselves about the event. When you master your interpretations, you master your life. When you let go of everything you cannot control, you protect your peace. And when you focus on your own choices, you become unstoppable. The mantra. Whenever your mind begins to spiral, whisper this. Do your best. Release the rest. Because reinventing yourself is not about perfect circumstances. It's about perfecting your response to imperfect circumstances. Part 3. The golden pause. Mastering your emotions before they master you. If there is one battle that determines the entire direction of your life, it's the battle between your reaction and your response. Most people don't lose control because life is difficult. They lose control because they never learned how to pause. In the modern world, emotions move faster than logic. A text message triggers anxiety. A tone of voice triggers anger. A small inconvenience triggers a spiral of stress. We live in a world where people react before they understand, speak before they think, and regret before they even realize what they've done. But the Stoics knew something timeless. You don't have to believe everything your emotions say. You just have to understand them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If something external harms you, it is not the event itself, but your judgment about it." That's the golden pause. The space between stimulus and response. The moment where emotional chaos becomes emotional clarity. Why the pause matters. Emotions aren't enemies. Anger is a signal. Fear is a warning. Sadness is a reflection. Stress is a request for boundaries. The problem is not emotion itself. It's emotional autopilot. The unconscious, unthinking reactions that sabotage relationships, ruin careers, and destroy inner peace. Reinvention cannot happen until you learn how to interrupt that autopilot. And that's where the Stoic golden pause becomes the most powerful form of self-care. It protects your mind from your own impulses. The Stoic method. Your 60-second reset. This is the Stoic technique used to regain control when emotions start to run the show. It's simple, fast, and brutally effective. S. Stop, freeze the impulse. Don't reply. Don't explain. Don't justify. Stopping is the first act of self-respect. T. Take 3 breaths. Slow. Breathing lowers adrenaline, interrupts emotional flooding, and signals your brain that you are safe. 3 breaths. Nothing more. But those 3 breaths can save you from saying something you can't take back. O. Observe. Name what you're feeling. I'm angry. I'm confused. I'm hurt. When you label an emotion, your brain shifts from reaction mode to regulation mode. I. Interpret. Ask, is the story I'm telling myself actually true? This one question has saved marriages, careers, and friendships. It collapses overthinking and forces clarity. C. Choose. This is where you reclaim your power. Choose the response aligned with who you want to be, not the one your impulses want to send. This process takes 60 seconds, but it gives you hours, days, even years of peace. Real-life examples. Your co-worker sends a disrespectful email. Autopilot wants to clap back. The golden pause asks you to stop, breathe, and respond with clarity instead of ego. Your partner misunderstands you. Autopilot wants to defend or attack. The golden pause helps you seek truth, not victory. You get bad news. Autopilot wants panic. The golden pause grounds you in action instead of fear. Every time you choose the pause, you rewrite your identity. You become calmer, sharper, harder to provoke, harder to manipulate, harder to break. The real transformation. Most people think reinventing your life happens in big decisions. Quitting jobs, changing environments, starting something new. But it actually happens in these tiny, invisible moments where you choose to act like the person you want to become, instead of the person you've always been. That's the golden pause. A small habit with massive consequences. So the next time your emotions surge, whisper this. I choose response over reaction. I choose clarity over chaos. Because the strongest version of you isn't the one who feels nothing. It's the one who feels everything. And still chooses wisely. Part 4. Premeditatio. Malarum, train your mind before life tests it. Most people break down, not because life is cruel, but because they expected it to be easy. They expect smooth days, predictable people, and outcomes that match their plans. And when life fails to cooperate, as it always does, they crumble, they panic, they take it personally, they spiral. But the Stoics understood a truth most modern people avoid. Life is unpredictable. Difficulty is guaranteed. But suffering? That part is optional. Their secret was simple. prepare your mind before the storm comes. This practice is called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. It doesn't mean expecting the worst. It means rehearsing life's challenges so they lose the power to shock you, break you, or steal your peace. Why this habit matters. Think of a firefighter. They don't wait for a burning building to learn how to stay calm. They train for it. They walk through simulations. They mentally rehearse failure, smoke, danger, and confusion. So when it happens, their mind stays sharp instead of collapsing. Stoicism wants you to become that kind of person, someone who doesn't fall apart at the first sign of chaos. When you practice negative visualization, 3 things happen. 1. Your fear shrinks. You cannot fear what you have already met in your mind. 2. Your gratitude expands. Everything becomes a gift because you see how fragile and temporary it all is. 3. Your inner stability strengthens. The unexpected becomes less threatening because you expected the unexpected. This is not pessimism. This is psychological armor. The practice. The 2-minute morning drill. Each morning, follow this simple ritual. Step 1. Picture one challenge you might face today. Maybe a delay, a rude person, a financial setback, a tough conversation, a moment of embarrassment. Step 2. Imagine yourself responding with virtue, with patience instead of anger, with courage instead of avoidance, with calm instead of panic, with clarity instead of emotion. Step 3. Lock in the identity. Say silently, if this happens today, I will not break. I will respond with strength. This takes 2 minutes, but it rewires your nervous system to expect resistance and meet it with grace. The evening reflection. Stoic gratitude with depth. At night, ask the question Seneca often reflected on. If today were my last day, what would I be grateful for, and what would I regret not improving? This single sentence forces radical presence. You stop sleepwalking through your life. You notice the small joys. The laugh of someone you love, a warm meal, a quiet moment, a small win. And you confront the areas where your character slipped, without shame, without drama, just truth. Gratitude becomes clearer. Values become sharper. Your life becomes intentional. A real-life example. Imagine walking into work and your boss suddenly changes the plan you stayed up late preparing for. Most people would get irritated or offended. But a Stoic who practices negative visualization says, I expected unpredictability today. I'm ready. Their mind stays calm because the moment is familiar. They've already lived it mentally. Or imagine your partner having a stressful day and snapping at you. Instead of reacting with hurt or ego, the trained mind says, I prepared for emotional turbulence. I choose patience. That is self-care at the highest level. The ability to remain yourself even when life isn't cooperating. The mantra. Whenever something unexpected happens, whisper, I trained for this. I respond with virtue, not impulse. Because reinventing yourself isn't about removing hardship. It's about becoming the person hardship can no longer break. Part 5. Radical honesty. Journaling. The mirror that never lies. There's a moment in everyone's life when they look in the mirror and realize something painful. They've been avoiding themselves, avoiding their choices, avoiding their patterns, avoiding the truth about who they are becoming. People don't stay stuck because life is hard. They stay stuck because they refuse to look closely at their own mind. And nothing exposes the truth more clearly than journaling with radical honesty. The Stoics treated journaling as mental hygiene. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, not the world. Seneca reflected nightly to sharpen his character. Epictetus urged his students to examine your impressions. In other words, to reinvent yourself, you must first become honest with yourself. Not nice, not polite, not flattering, honest. Why radical honesty matters? Because your mind will lie to you if you let it. It will justify your laziness. It will excuse your anger. It will rationalize your bad habits. It will blame others for what you chose. It will defend the very patterns that keep you stuck. The journal cuts through all of that. It doesn't care about your ego. It doesn't care about your excuses. It shows you exactly what you did, what you felt, what you ran from, and who you were being today. Reinvention requires awareness, and awareness requires self-confrontation. Most people avoid this because they fear what they'll find. Stoics embrace it because they know the truth is the only thing strong enough to build a new life on. The 6. Question Stoic Journal. Here is the exact structure used to sharpen your self-awareness and accelerate your reinvention. 1. What did I do well today? Celebrate it. Own it. Reinforcement builds identity. 3. What emotion hit me the hardest today? Name it. When you name it, you tame it. 3. What emotion hit me the hardest today? Name it. When you name it, you tame it. 4. What belief was hiding under that emotion? Anger hides fear. Sadness hides longing. Anxiety hides lack of control. This question exposes the root. 5. What am I grateful for? Gratitude is the antidote to entitlement and bitterness. 6. What is one action I will improve tomorrow? Small, tangible, achievable. Real change comes from tiny adjustments repeated. This journaling ritual takes 5 to 10 minutes, but the psychological return is massive. You become more truthful, more disciplined, more self-respecting. Real examples people face every day. You overreacted to a coworker. Write it down. Understand why. Maybe you felt disrespected. Maybe you were tired. Maybe your ego spoke faster than your values. Clarity comes from reflection. You skipped a workout again. The journal forces you to admit whether you lacked energy or lacked commitment. There's a difference, and your success depends on knowing it. You felt irritated with your partner. Instead of blaming them, the journal helps you unpack your emotional truth. Was it them? Or were you projecting stress from somewhere else? Radical honesty doesn't judge. It reveals. And revelation is the birthplace of transformation. The psychology behind the practice. When you write, you disconnect from emotional noise and reconnect with logic. Your brain moves from survival mode to strategic mode. Self-awareness increases. Self-deception decreases. And patterns that were once invisible become undeniable. You can't fix what you refuse to see, but you can change everything once you finally see it clearly. The mantra. Every night, tell yourself, honesty heals, honesty frees, honesty transforms. Because you cannot reinvent a version of yourself you're afraid to face. But once you face the truth, the reinvention is already in motion. Part 6. Voluntary discomfort. Building the mental immunity. Most people never develop. If you look at anyone who is strong, calm under pressure, confident without arrogance, and grounded no matter what's happening around them, there's always one thing they have in common. They trained for discomfort. Most people avoid anything unpleasant. They avoid silence. They avoid boredom. They avoid difficult tasks, difficult conversations, difficult truths. They choose the easiest path available, and then wonder why the smallest setbacks break them. The Stoics understood what modern society often forgets. Comfort is addictive. Comfort is seductive. Comfort is dangerous. Because the more comfortable you are, the more fragile you become. Seneca practiced voluntary hardship, sleeping on hard surfaces, eating simple food, exposing himself to controlled discomfort, not to suffer, but to build inner immunity. He wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality, and voluntary discomfort proves it." Once you choose discomfort on your terms, Life's unexpected challenges stop feeling so overwhelming. Why this habit matters. When you expose yourself to controlled difficulty, 3 powerful things happen. 1. You stop fearing discomfort. Fear loses its grip the moment you discover you can survive more than you thought. 2. You build discipline automatically. Discipline is not motivation. It's the ability to do the hard thing even when you don't feel like it, and voluntary discomfort trains exactly that. 3. You toughen your identity. You no longer see yourself as fragile. You see yourself as capable, and identity drives behavior more than anything else. Most people want to reinvent themselves but still cling to comfort. You cannot have both. Reinvention demands friction. The practice. The Stoic micro-hardship. Menu voluntary discomfort isn't about punishing yourself. It's not extreme, it's not reckless. It's controlled, safe, intentional, and designed to stretch, not break you. Choose one of these each day. Cold or cool. Showers, 30-60 seconds. Not to suffer, but to train your nervous system to remain steady under shock. Skip a small comfort, one light meal, a favorite snack, or late-night scrolling. Not deprivation, discipline. 10 minutes with no phone, no noise, no distraction. Most people panic in silence. Training stillness is training power. Walking instead of driving short distances. Build physical grit and mental clarity. Doing one uncomfortable task immediately. The call you're avoiding, the message you haven't answered, the mess you haven't cleaned. Discomfort avoided becomes suffering. Discomfort faced becomes freedom. One difficult conversation per week. Say what needs to be said, with calm, with honesty, with courage. Each micro-hardship rewires your brain. Each builds your tolerance. Each lowers your fear threshold. Each strengthens your identity as someone who does hard things. The psychology behind it. Your brain adapts to whatever you repeatedly expose it to. If you constantly seek comfort, your resilience shrinks. If you consistently face discomfort, your resilience expands. This is why athletes train under pressure. Why soldiers train in harsh conditions. Why Stoics train their minds through voluntary challenges. You're not preparing for suffering, you're preparing for life, and life will test you whether you're ready or not. Real-life example. Imagine 2 people. Person A avoids difficulty, hits snooze, cancels the gym, escapes into entertainment, shies away from discomfort. Person B chooses small, controlled discomfort daily, wakes up on the first alarm, finishes tasks they don't feel like doing, faces challenges head-on, trains their mind in silence. When stress arrives, Person A collapses. Person B remains steady, not because Person B had an easier life, but because they trained for a harder one. The mantra. Whenever something feels uncomfortable, whisper, "This is training. Hard things shape me." Because the truth is simple. You cannot reinvent yourself while avoiding discomfort, but if you learn to embrace it, you become someone life cannot break. Part 7. The art of saying no, protecting your time, energy, and self-respect. If you want to reinvent your life, there is one skill you must master. A skill so simple, yet so uncomfortable for most people that it quietly destroys their happiness. Saying no. Not because you're rude, not because you're selfish, but because your life depends on it. Most people don't burn out because they're weak. They burn out because they've been living on everyone else's schedule but their own. They say yes to invitations they don't care about, yes to responsibilities that drain them, and yes to people who never reciprocate. Slowly, their time disappears, their energy fades, their self-respect erodes. The Stoics understood this danger well. Marcus Aurelius warned against scattering your attention. Epictetus said you become what you give your time to. Seneca called it the greatest tragedy of life. Not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it. And nothing wastes more time than the inability to say no. Why this habit matters. Saying no is more than a boundary. It's a declaration of identity. When you say no, you are saying, my time matters, my peace matters, my priorities matter, my life matters, and most importantly, you do not get to decide how I spend my limited existence. Every yes you give away carelessly is a small act of self-betrayal. Every intentional no is an act of self-respect. Reinvention requires that you stop living for the approval of others and start living for the values that define you. The 3-step Stoic method to say no with grace. You don't need anger. You don't need long explanations. You don't need guilt. You need clarity. Step 1. Identify your top 3 priorities for the week. These are the non-negotiables. If an invitation, request, or responsibility does not support these priorities, it is a distraction, not an opportunity. Clarity makes saying no easier because you are not rejecting the person. You are protecting the mission. Step 2. Use the neutral boundary sentence. This is the Stoic-approved way to decline without drama. Thank you for thinking of me, but I can't commit to that right now. It's polite, it's firm. It closes the door without emotional friction. Variations. I appreciate it, but I need to pass. I'm not available for that, but thank you. That doesn't fit my schedule at the moment. Short. Clean. No guilt. Step 3. Audit your last 7 days. Look back at your calendar, your texts, your tasks. Which yes drained you? Which yes helped you grow? Which yes was given out of obligation, fear, or habit? Your reinvention begins by cutting 20 to 30% of the noise. Real-life examples. Your co-worker asks you to take on a task that isn't yours. Old you. Sure, I can do it. New you. I'm not able to take that on, but I hope it goes smoothly. A friend wants you to go out, even though you're exhausted. Old you says yes to avoid disappointing them. New you. I'm recharging tonight, but I appreciate the invite. A family member pressures you into something you don't want. Old you complies to avoid conflict. New you, that doesn't work for me, but thank you. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors. Doors you get to open and close. The real transformation. When you begin saying no, 3 things instantly shift. 1. Your peace returns. You stop living in overwhelm and start living in alignment. 2. Your self-respect grows. You no longer betray yourself to please others. 3. Your relationships improve. People who value you will honor your boundaries. People who don't will leave. Both are gifts. Saying no doesn't push the right people away. It filters the wrong people out. The mantra. Whenever you feel pressured to say yes, whisper, if it costs my peace, it's too expensive. My time is mine. Because you cannot reinvent yourself if you keep sacrificing your energy to things that don't build the future you want. No is not rejection. It is protection, and it is one of the highest forms of self-care you will ever practice. Reinventing yourself is not a single moment of inspiration. It's a daily choice. A disciplined, intentional, and often uncomfortable choice. The 7 Stoic self-care habits you just learned aren't trends. They're not motivational fluff. They are ancient tools for building a mind that cannot be shaken, a character that cannot be corrupted, and a life you're finally proud to live. When you choose virtue first, you anchor your identity. When you focus on what you can control, your stress dissolves. When you master the golden pause, your emotions serve you instead of sabotage you. When you practice negative visualization, life stops surprising you. When you journal with honesty, you grow faster than your excuses. When you embrace voluntary discomfort, your confidence becomes real. And when you learn to say no, You reclaim your time, your peace, and your power. Reinvention is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to the strongest, most disciplined, most honorable version of yourself. So pick one habit. Practice it today. Small steps compound. Quiet discipline transforms. Your future self is waiting. If this message resonated, drop a comment. I reinvent myself. And I'll see you in the next one.